Hello, I am Professor N.K. Pandey, Department of Physics, University of Lucknow. In today's lecture, I am going to cover the Compton effect in quantum mechanics. In fact, Einstein had given the idea that an electromagnetic wave is made up of small tiny particles called quantum or quanta, and to Max Planck's idea, he had added one more factor, that he had said that the electromagnetic waves also propagated in the form of quanta, and these quantum of light, that is the photons, they make collisions with the electrons or any particle just like two billiard ball collisions. So what we can take away from quantum mechanics for understanding the Compton effect is that photons behave like particles except for the absence of any rest mass. Hence, collision between photons and electrons should be treated as billiard ball collisions. Now, what is quantum effect? Now, we can see that this is an inelastic collision of a photon by a quasi-free charged particle, usually an electron. Now, it results in a decrease in energy, that is an increase in the wavelength of the photon, which may be an X-ray photon. Here, mind it, we are giving an X-ray photon as incident photon, and the scattered photon is also X-ray photon, and here is the outgoing electron. Now, the energy of the X-ray photon is very much larger than the binding energy of the atomic electron. So, the electrons could be treated as being approximately free, and that is why we call quasi-free particle to the electron. The energy of the X-ray photon is very large, of the order of kilo electron volt, and that of the electron is of the order of couple of electron volts by which they are bound to the atom. Hence, for these X-rays, they behave like almost free particles. Now, part of the energy of the photons is transferred to the recoiling electron. Now, here is Compton scattering once more seen. You can see this is the incident photon and this is the scattered photon having a different wavelength lambda dash. Incident photon has a wavelength lambda, and this is the scattered photon, scattered electron. This is angle phi and this is angle theta. Now, we will presume that the electron is initially at rest at the time of collision. So, the collision between an X-ray photon and an electron which is assumed to be at rest. In the collision, the photon loses as much energy as kinetic energy gained by the electron. Now, in the collision, momentum is conserved in each of the two mutually perpendicular directions. You may see over here that initially when the photon is incident and the electron is at rest, there is no momentum along the y direction, only total momentum is along the x direction, and after the collision, we have momentum along y and x directions both. And so, the total momentum needs to be conserved along x-axis and y-axis separately. Now, it may also be considered that we do not have the same photon going in the scattered direction. No. The identity of the two photons is different. We have a separate photon coming, which is incident, having wavelength lambda, and we have a separate photon being after scattering that is going at angle phi. In the collision, the photon loses this much energy. Now, after this we can say loss in photon energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy of the electron. Now, h nu is the energy of the incident photon and h nu dash is the energy of the scattered photon, and t is the energy taken away by the electron. Then h nu minus h nu dash is equal to t. Now, for a particle of rest mass m naught, the total energy is also given by this formula. E is equal to under root m naught square c power 4 plus p square c square. Now, since for the photon there is no rest mass, its total energy is given by E is equal to pc. That is, P is equal to E by c, h nu by c. That is, we have to understand that though photons do not have any rest mass, they do carry momentum given by h nu by c. Now, so we can say that the initial photon momentum is h nu by c and the final photon momentum is h nu dash by c. Let us apply the conservation of momentum along the x-axis and along the y-axis. You can see from here that along the x-axis, we had initial momentum of this photon, that is h nu by c, zero momentum of the electron, so h nu by c plus 0, and after the collision, the momentum, that is h nu dash by c of this one along x-axis is cos phi, and of the electron along x-axis is p sine cos theta. And perpendicular to this direction, initially there was zero momentum along y direction, and finally we have this momentum along y direction. So we have this as conservation of momentum along x-axis and this as conservation of momentum along y-axis. Now multiply the two equations by c, and we have pc cos theta is equal to h nu minus h nu dash cos phi, and pc sin theta is equal to h nu dash sin phi. Now let us square and add the two, p square c square cos square theta plus sin square theta. So we have p square c square, and the squaring and adding of the right hand side will give you this h nu square minus 2 h nu prime cos phi plus h nu prime whole square. Now total energy of the particle is E is equal to kinetic energy plus its rest mass energy, and total energy is also given by this particular formula as discussed earlier. So the two should be equal. That means we square this one to equate this one, and finally we have t plus m naught c whole square. If we do, then this one comes like this, and p, that means p square c square is equal to t square plus 2 m naught c square t, and put here for t h nu minus h nu prime, and you have got this formula. A little bit of calculation from left to right will give you this particular result, which is the final result of the whole calculations. That is lambda dash, the wavelength of the scattered radiation, lambda, the wavelength of the incoming radiation, is equal to h by m naught c 1 minus cos phi. Here h by m naught c is what we call the Compton wavelength, and if calculated by putting the constants, it will be 0.024 angstrom. Lambda dash is the wavelength of the scattered radiation, and lambda is that of the original photon. Now mind it, in the scattered radiation we have both the wavelengths. One is the higher wavelength and the other is the original wavelength. Now the presence of original wavelength in the scattered radiation may also be explained on the basis of electromagnetic wave theory by saying that a photon is incident, is absorbed by the atom and gets excited, and when it de-excites, it will radiate the same photon, and therefore the incoming and the scattered photon both will have the same wavelength. But it could not explain, the electromagnetic theory could not explain the presence of the higher wavelength. And as we have seen, by applying the quantum theory, we have been able to reach to this formula, which establishes the presence of the higher wavelength in the Compton scattered radiation. So that means this quantum theory has been able to explain the presence of higher wavelength, but certainly the quantum theory has also got to explain the presence of original wavelength also. Now, to explain the original wavelength, we can only say that some of the photons, X-ray photons, coming and making collision may not be making collision with the electrons directly. They may be hitting the atom as a whole as such, and therefore in the mass m naught, it is not the mass of the electron, rather that of the whole atom should be taken for consideration. So in that case, the mass of the atom is many thousand times greater than the mass of the electron, and therefore this factor becomes very, very small, and therefore the change in wavelength is very small. And we can say that the original wavelength is also present in the scattered radiation. So we have been able to establish on the basis of the Compton theory and quantum theory that the scattered radiation will contain both higher wavelength as well as the original wavelength. One more thing, the change in wavelength depends not on the energy or the wavelength of the incident photon. It depends only on the angle of scattering of the photon. And here you can see, if in the former formula we put phi is equal to 0, then cos 0 is equal to 1, 1 minus 1 is equal to 0, and delta lambda will become 0, and we will not have a change in wavelength, as you can see from here. But if phi is equal to 45 degree, then h by m naught c, 1 minus cos 45 degree will give us two wavelengths. Similarly, if it is 90 degree, the separation of the two wavelengths, original and the scattered one, will increase. At 135 degree, it will become still larger, and for 180 degree, the separation in wavelength is maximum, and that is equal to 0.048 angstrom. Now, results of the Compton effect. Let us enumerate it. Number one, change in wavelength is independent of the wavelength used. H by m naught c is Compton wavelength. Maximum change in wavelength is twice the Compton wavelength, 0.048 angstrom, and the presence of higher wavelength in the scattered radiation could be explained, and also, as I have said, the presence of original wavelength is also explained. By this, saying that the mass of the atom is very large, and m naught in the denominator should be replaced by the mass of the whole atom. Now, very interestingly, after we have got all the results of the Compton experiment, we have here, at a time that was early 1920s, when the particle, that is the photon nature of light suggested by photoelectric effect, was still being debated. The Compton experiment in 1923, in between itself, gave clear and independent evidence of particle-like behavior of the photons. Thank you very much for your kind attention.